Hey, what's up, everyone? It's the better one here from the Unnaturals, with another solo game review. Today, we're going to be talking about the game that's all about adventure, strategy, and good old-fashioned JRPG goodness, Octopath Traveler. Now, if you've played this game, you've already know what's coming, but if you haven't, strap in. This one's going to take you a walk around an entire continent, basically. So, what exactly is Octopath Traveler? Well, it's a turn-based RPG developed by Square Enix and Acquire, set in a beautifully crafted world with some of the coolest pixel art you'll ever see. You choose from 8 unique characters, each with their own story, and you tackle the game however you want. Think of it like building your own adventure team, minus the worst one holding you back. Now, let's talk about the characters real quick. So when you go into load an Octopath Traveler, you're greeted with 8 unique characters. Hence the name Octopath. Each one has their own backstory, abilities, and motivations. Um, from Ulbrich the Warrior, which is right here, um, as well as Primrose the Dancer, which is right here. They're not just different in combat, but in how they interact with the world. You got freedom to explore their individual stories or just smash through those dungeons. Totally up to you. My definite favorite character to play is Primrose, and that's because of her story. Her story is all about deceit, death, and the loss of family, and she basically has to build herself up from nothing. And I honestly love that story, and her story is probably like has the best storytelling. But they all have pretty good stories. Ulbrich, it gives you a little synopsis about how he basically questions why does he even swing a blade anymore. Then you have Tressa. She's just a young girl, the actually youngest character in the game that you play with as a party member, and she just travels the world as she is a merchant. Her whole goal is to learn, grow, and expand her style as a merchant. Then you have Cyrus, a scholar who's just all about studying and wanting to acquire more and more knowledge until one day he realizes tomes are gone from this library in the royal capital and within this royal library, and now he has to deal with how to get those back and where did they go? Why were they stolen? And why were these tomes specifically stolen? Ophelia, her story deals with the fact that she's an orphan that was adopted by a a father of this archbishop. Her father essentially is an archbishop of the church that she follows, which is why she's the cleric. They follow the church of the flame, and instead of her sister going on this epic journey, she embarks on it herself. As tragic events turn, um, Ophelia's story is all about kindness and finding that even though people may be mean on the outside, everyone has a spark of kindness in them, and Ophelia brings it out in each and every person. Hana is a hunter, one of the last descendants of her clan. She has a unique ability where she can actually capture and control monsters in combat, which is really cool. You can actually capture nearly every single monster in the game besides humanoid monsters and use them in combat, which is incredibly fun. And they all have a variety of unique abilities that they can use to help aid you in combat. Um, her story is her master leaves to go fight and destroy a beast that's been causing destruction in an unnamed location within the world of Ostera. She finds out that her master's partner, a wolf, comes back to town without their master and is seemingly different. And Hanit realizes this and sets out on an adventure to find her master, essentially. Therian, the thief. Um, he is a loner, a lone wolf. He is probably one of the other good characters to start with, as he is the only character in the game to actually be able to unlock purple chests within dungeons. Purple chests consists of really rare and powerful items normally, and it could be really nice of you to have a Therian at the beginning of the game, if that's your playstyle. I will point out every single chest, every single side quest, every single thing in this game is not missable. You can go back at any point and get any single chest or quest again. I believe there are some creatures that can be missed based off level, and where you are with other people's chapters. So if you do all the chapter ones, you can miss certain chapter one specific creatures, but that's about it. Other than that, there's really nothing else to worry about. Nothing that's super important is missable, as far as I can tell, playing through this game as many times as I did. And then our last person is Alvin, the Apothecary, a very unique class. He has the ability in combat to concoct very cool potions and alchemical like healers that can harm enemies and heal allies. It's very unique. His whole mission in life is to find and become as good of an apothecary as the man that healed him when he was a child. He steps out into his journey after saving his best friend's sister from certain death from a massive snake, and that's when he decides to leave his home behind. And honestly, it's probably one of the more, I would say, one of the more, I would, kind of okay stories. I do enjoy Alvin's story. I think it's very nice, but his whole game in life is to prove to himself that he can become as good of apothecary as the man who helped him. As well, when we get to the game, he's probably one of the more useful party members to have in a game, in my opinion, just because of his concoctability. His concoctability is incredibly, incredibly useful. But without further ado, let's go ahead and show off some combat. As combat in this game is very specific and very unique, it actually comes in handy quite a bit. And combat in this game is done like the normal sort of way. There we go. Okay. So now combat. It's a classic turn base, essentially. So you won't have to worry about that. Come on. There we go. It is a classic turn-based RPG. Step right up. But with a twist. You've got this cool break and boost mechanics. Break enemies by exploiting their weaknesses, and then boost your attacks to do more serious damage. It's super satisfying to figure out strategies and totally wreck enemies when you've got the hang of it. If the worst one tried this, he'd probably break something else entirely, like his controller. But that's beside the point. The combat system, from what is being shown on screen, is one of the most fun aspects of this game. The fact that you can literally just build your characters to be able to fight specific things, as well as you can see, do elemental attacks. This is Tressa, the merchant, and it's just a really fun back and forth that you're able to do. But since this is probably one of the better places to talk about it, can we just talk about Octopath and I can't talk about Octopath Traveler without mentioning the visuals and music and the 2D HD art style. It's like nothing else. It's retro yet modern, and honestly, it's one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. It's like something took classic pixel art, sprinkled in some magical fairy dust to make the water and all the background look beautiful against these 2D characters, and the soundtrack, absolute banger. Just listen to some of this music. This is just normal walking around music.
Open for business.
And combat music.
My turn now.
I can't even imagine this music being as it is. Here's a part where you're talking to the bosses of Tressa's Chapter 1, and just the music that kicks in is beautiful. But alright, I know what you're thinking. Worst one, this game sounds incredibly perfect. There's no way you have complaints. Well, slow down. We'll slow down there. Octopath does have a couple of downsides. For starters, the stories of each individual character, they don't really intersect. They're kind of just 8 traveling companions that go do their own stories, and they just happen to help one another. They do feel a bit disconnected. Also, the grind. Man, the grind is real, and if you want to keep all of your characters leveled evenly, but hey, that's our JRPG like, especially the kind of Octopath Traveler that I'm playing on the channel, which is the hard mode mod, which makes the game even that much harder. So, just word of caution, if you do use the hard mode mod, just be very prepared that you will probably die a lot. Now we're gonna, despite the few hiccups, Octopath Traveler is an incredible game. If you exploring different character stories, or just looking at stunning visuals, this is a game that will totally deliver. It's one of those experiences where you can finish one path and immediately want to start the next. And that is something that you can do. As Octopath Traveler, whoever is your first traveler that you choose on the starting screen, that person is locked in your party until the end of their story. So until you complete all 4 chapters. Once you complete all 4 chapters of Octopath Traveler, that is when they all go or able to be switched out with another person. You're able to have up to 4 people actively in combat or traveling around with you. And you can switch them around anytime at like a bar within town or tavern and switch them around. Again, the only person you can't switch out is the first person you pick unless you've completed their chapter 4. So, is Octopath Traveler worth playing? Absolutely. Whether you're a hardcore JRPG fan or just someone who loves a good story with a solid gameplay, this is one worth your time. Let me know in the comments who's your favorite character. Did you enjoy the game as much as I did? And of course, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss more of the totally unbiased and superior reviews. Stay unnatural, folks, and I'll catch you next time.
I'm not so sure about.
And, let's just listen to some beautiful Octopath Traveler music.